Your someday starts today. It's time to explore and test the newest science, methods, and trends for creating a life you love with your host, Tanya MFK. Welcome to My Designed Life.
All right, guys, so welcome to My Design Life, where we bring you realistic ways to create your best life now and then test them to see what really works. I'm your host, Tanya MFK. Thank you for joining me today. You can catch us every other Monday live right here at 3 p.m. EST, as well as YouTube, Binge Networks TV, IGTV, My Design Life podcast, and all your favorite podcast platforms. I'm also sending a shout out to our FM listeners at 99.1 FM, WDJY, and WTTA 101 in Kentucky and Ohio. Thank you so much for always showing up and supporting our show. So it is almost 2020, and I have to say I am so excited for the new year. I know that sounds cheesy, and I'll tell you I'm the first one who's not going to subscribe to the new year, new me type of thing. But what I do love is the idea of a fresh start, the idea of a new beginning. And so today we are going to be talking about making 2020 the best. And we're going to do it not through resolutions, but through planning, clarity, your beliefs, and more. But first, in our last show, we met with author, counselor, and co-creator of the International Association of Journal Writers, Linda Monk. And she shared compelling evidence for the benefits of journaling and assigned me the task of journaling once a day for the week. But she didn't leave me hanging. I was given a prompt to use, and that was, right now, I notice. And right now, I have to say it was one of my favorite writing prompts yet. I've been working on journaling for the last 2 years, and this simple statement opened up a whole different level of awareness, and it was so easy and so quick. I mean, it was really something phenomenal. There was something different than looking at a blank page or just kind of thinking like, dear diary, today I did this. And even in some circles, you're encouraged to write about your goals or your thoughts for the day. But something about right now, I noticed took the burden off of myself and just really pushed me quickly into a sense of awareness and mindfulness of, well, what is going around me? What do I notice? What's happening in my body? What do I feel? Am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I angry? Am I tense? So it was really, really awesome. So if you're on the fence about journaling or worried that you'll be staring at a blank page or that it might be too woo-woo, go back and watch that episode. Hear the evidence. And you know what? Just try it for yourself. Start with right now, I notice, and see what you find. So that was how we went for our last episode. For today, guys, really going to just jump into what this year can really hold for us. And it is so, so powerful what we can do when we are clear and when we really know exactly the thing is that we want. And I think what happens most of the time is that we get excited and we're like, yes, the New Year's here, and everyone jumps on these bandwagons and we have this hope, as I kind of mentioned earlier, right? Like we have this hope, it's going to be different. And then we kind of cross our fingers and we're like, yes, like it's going to be. And then the action stops there. The action stops at the hope. And that is why the statistics show that 92% of New Year's resolutions fail. And only 8% actually make it to like the middle of the year. So the N percent, I'm not even sure what it is anymore, but it's probably really sad. And for the rest of them that didn't make it. And so what it is that we start with this place. We start with this hope and maybe we've learned the SMART goals, right? That they're measurable, attainable. We've done those things. We're like, okay, so I'm going to work out 3 times a week and I'm going to, I need to lose this many pounds. So you've put like some numbers to it. But where we forget and where we don't really dig deep enough into is when we are starting to really uncover our motivation. Like what is underneath at the deepest depth of, and let's go with the weight loss, right? Everyone, I always use weight loss because it's something that I think whether it's something you've struggled with or not, like you've heard it, you've seen it, you know, the ups and downs, firsthand, secondhand, one way or the other, you've dealt with it, whether it was a coworker or it was yourself or a loved one. So when you look at that, something as simple as that, it's easy to go, well, I want to look better. Well, why is that important to you? Well, because I want XYZ, right? Like, because, I feel better if I look better and these things. I want to be healthier. Maybe let's go with the healthy thing. Maybe you think that, the outside facade is too shallow, right? So I want to be healthier, but why? What is actually underneath? Why is that important to you? And when you can start to go, well, I want to be able to get up and down with my kids and play with them and not be so tired all the time. And I want to be able to, go swimming with them and not feel subconscious in my bathing suit. Okay. So now we've got the kids. Why is that important to you? Well, because I want to spend time with them. And, my parents weren't able to do that. They were really out of shape. And you're like, okay, so now we're getting a little deeper. Why is that important to you? Well, because I didn't get that time with them. I wanted that time. Like now we're getting deeper, right? Like, I mean, this is all kind of made up as we're figuring out, but you can see as we start to ask that question, that simple question, why is that important to you? We start to peel the layers of that onion more and more to get underneath what the true motivation of your goal is. So as you're getting excited and you're looking at these goals for whatever reason that you've set, I encourage you to start with really getting to the deepest level of that motivation, and do that by unpeeling that onion by simply starting with the goal, and 7 times, going to feel tedious, but 7 times go, why is that important to me? So you start with, I want to run a marathon. Why is that important to you? And then go underneath. Well, why is that important to me? Well, why is that? Until you get to that 7th level. When you get to that 7th level, that's pretty clear average from all the clients that I work with, that is where we get to the gold. That is where we can stop going, yeah, fitting into my skinny jeans is nice. That's a good motivation. But when you get underneath to like, I want to be an example to my kids and I don't want them to die young. Now this is a different kind of motivation. This is something that really hits at your core, because maybe the skinny jean thing, it hasn't worked for the last 3 years. And every year we have the same goal and the same thing. Well, if that's where you're finding yourself, then it's time to uncover some deeper motivation. And so I really, really highly encourage that when we dump into our goals and looking at this new year plan, that we really start to dig as deep as we can and hold on to that goal that we have in us, because that is going to be the thing that pushes us through temptation, that pushes through when willpower has failed, when all of those other things go. That true motivation is going to be the thing that does it. Now that's just the beginning. So that's just where you've started. So you got to your motivation. You're like, I got the gold. Okay, Tanya, I'm ready. You're like, not so fast. So we want to also get to, of course, all the measurable parts we talked about, the what, the whys, what is the real action plan for that? How does it really work? How is it going to be measured out? It's from, if it's 50 pounds, I'm going to stick with the weight loss thing. So it's like, you want 50 pounds. That's a really far goal. I'm doing this with my hand. It's a really far goal. And it can seem like tough. So we want to also set some of those small micro accomplishments, those micro wins, those milestones as well that we can work towards and celebrate. So instead of only looking at the 50 pounds, you can look at the 1 pound. You can look at the 1 week of working out 3 times a week. My first goal is for 1 week to work out 3 times, right? Start also with those. So you can't just measure the long term. We need to dive into the really smaller bits and pieces. But my favorite part, even more than that, is really starting to get into what I call the, since we're on radio here, the oh crap plan, we'll call it. And that is where you assume it's going to fall to bits and pieces. And you go, okay, so what is the plan when it's fallen apart? What am I going to do when I ate the cake, or I missed the workout, or even if I'm feeling the temptation? So a lot of times it's there's a wedding. there's the event coming up, there's the thing, and I got to stay strong. Okay, well, besides staying strong, what is the plan that you can do? What is something you can prepare for to get through that plan? So I've been doing keto for the last couple months, and with the holidays, I'm in Czech Republic, guys, right? So if there's anything that is common with Czech food, it's carbs, right? Like knedlíky, like it's all bread, European bread deliciousness. Okay. So I knew better than to go, I'm going to show up with willpower. So the person who does not bake, I love cooking, I don't bake, but I went through and I was like, I'm probably going to really want something sweet because it's the holiday and it's going to be everywhere. So I made all these keto recipes. Like I brought my own like charcuterie plate to our family event. And yes, it was more work. It was all those things, but you know what? I was so comfortable and satiated in the midst of the kind of family party atmosphere and all of that, because I knew better than to show up with only willpower. I knew that wasn't going to work for me. So I also am not drinking any alcohol. So I made little kind of specialty drinks that I looked up, like little mocktails. I was like, these are great. So I had an oh crap plan. I had something that prepared me to get through something that I knew was going to be rough. And it is so much easier to go through it that way comfortably than just like, and staring and drooling at the things that you may want. So again, that's kind of putting that into food, but you can put this into, work situations and environments. And that's another key piece of setting up goals, is to look in how do you set your environment up to win? So if you are trying to cut down on the carbs or the sugars or something like that, and your environment's filled with it, you need to make some decisions. So if it's your household, it ideally comes out of the house. If that is I'm not the only one there, you have a family, there can still be alternative ways. I spoke with a client once where we said, okay, so the kids, they were teenagers at the time. It's like, if they have to have these things and you're going to have that for them, then they can have their own little like lockers in their rooms where that stuff is kept. And it's out of the family space. This is their little treat thing and they can have it. So again, there's always an answer. There's always a way to work around. So if keeping it in the house is still a thing, there's still a way to do it differently. Same with work. If you're not going to change your job, then there are probably ways to either avoid that break room or make some changes, or again, bring your own stuff so the temptation isn't there. So having this oh crap plan. So now we've got the motivation, right? Now we've moved in, and before we've even started New Year's Day, you've already figured out like, where can I fall? Where can I mess up? Right. So I think that's the other thing with hope is we start to go into the new year. We're like, this is going to be different. I'm so excited. And we have that motivation for a moment, but motivation is fleeting. How many of us have gone to sleep with like, tomorrow it's going to be different. I'm not going to do it again. And in the morning, like the snooze button goes, and it's all back to where it was. Motivation cannot be the thing that keeps us the whole time. So it's so important that we actually like look ahead and visualize. We're really good at this, actually. We're usually really good at visualizing the bad parts. Like that's the worry, right? So for once, harness that. Look at all those things that can happen and go, what's going to be my downfall? What can be it? And what will I do to get through that, right? This is the roadblock plan. So instead of going in, with blinders on, go in and like, this is where I'm fallible, and have that plan, have that backup. That is, that's one of my favorite things. So far we've gotten about figuring out your goals, going through the 7 layers of uncovering your motivation. What is at the deepest level of that you can really hang on to? That's going to be the goal that pushes you through. And what can be the thing that knocks you off your butt? Okay. What can be that thing? So once you've identified what can be the thing that knocks you off your butt, then you make the plan of how you're going to get through that situation. Okay. So we are going to be taking a break, and we're going to dive a little more into some of the things that we can do to make 2020 really the year that is going to be something different. So if you guys make sure you go and check out our live and uncensored UI Media streaming app. Go to uimediaapp.com to watch live now and catch all your favorite show replays. We'll be right back. See you soon. All right, guys, we're back. I'm Tanya MFK, and you're watching My Design Live. So we are here with our end of the year show, just going over some of my favorite hacks and tips for the new year, for really making change in the new year. This has been kind of, I hope, hopefully a healthy obsession of mine, as I have really just been focused on creating the best life that I can. And I know a lot of you have heard a little bit of my background and my story of where I came from, and having extreme poverty and coming from difficult situations, living in homeless shelters as a kid. And then from there, kind of pulling myself into the ranks, and then becoming a widow at age 25, and having that brevity of life just in my face. And the choices that I made from then on were really to like not take no for an answer for the kind of life that I want to live. And that has just been the driving force of the opportunities and the chances and the things that I've taken, and now really taking these life lessons and streaming them into something much more accessible and clear, and really steps. Because I think that's the thing. It doesn't have to be where we get to a point where tragedy has struck or something so intense in our life has happened that forces us to do this. And you may have heard me say before, if we can make these kind of changes in the midst of pain and suffering, how much more can we do in the midst of joy and happiness? So this is just really kind of a conglomeration of the things that I've taken, and the pieces and the tools, and taking them into a like I said, accessible and systematic type of situation, as opposed to kind of just ideas, like really getting nitty gritty. And I'm going to tell you, most of these concepts are going to end in pen and paper, like writing things down and getting real. Because like I've said a million times before, there's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. My husband gets so tired of hearing this, but someday doesn't exist. And so if you're waiting for someday to happen, it's never going to happen, because it's not real. And so when you want something to be real, you get pen and paper, you put it on a real date, you put it on a calendar, you take action. That is what makes something real. So we had a question before the break that was, how many goals as you're looking to next year? And I advise, honestly, for the big ones, to really look at 3 to 5. Like, don't overload it, especially when you're first starting. We tend to overdo it. And we go with these big goals. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to get married. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to those are great goals to have. But we also forget how important the micro goals are, the tiny ones, because those tiny steps, those tiny habits, like I'm going to drink more water, those things compound so huge to make our health, our life, like everything different. So that is something that I really like to keep people sticking around to the 3 to 5 as far as the big goals, when they're first starting on this kind of more intense goal setting journey. Because one goal alone, like if we went into the weight loss thing, it starts to break down into a lot of tiny, tiny goals, because it really comes into our habits. It comes into what we do each day. It starts to affect what time we wake up, what time we go to sleep, what we eat, how we shop, like what we think, what we say. Like, it's so much bigger than I'm going to calorie count and do this, right? It starts to affect every part of your life. So if you're trying to do that and 25 other goals, you're going to set yourself up for a tough environment. I'm not saying it's impossible, but definitely set yourself up for a tough environment. So yeah, I see we have people from all over. Hey guys, thanks so much for chatting in there. Pakistan, California, love it. Hope you guys are getting ready, because we are so close to this new threshold of opportunity. So as we were going in, we're talking about the goals and talking about kind of what, how we break them down, where we go. I also mentioned, we were talking about the, so writing down, we have our motivation, we have our goals and milestones, kind of setting them out and celebrating those times in between. And then we also have really starting to get clear on what the backup plan is. What happens if I mess up? What happens? And then we talked about setting the environment, creating the things around you. Now, we went as extreme as having in your job, maybe avoiding the break room. And maybe that doesn't seem that extreme. For some people, it might go, I have to go out of my way to do that. So there's other things as well, right? We can do things as simple as, having the healthy breakfast or the lemon water made the night before. Putting your keys next to your gym bag so you go. It's easier to flow in the morning, especially with the morning things. We're not usually that great, most of us, at getting up, getting ready to go. So having systems in place that just like being your own assistant, right? Like, what would that person do? You're like, man, they would have my clothes ready. They'd have my breakfast ready. Okay, well, if you're not in a place to have that assistant, this is the time to take that, forget Netflix, all that other stuff that you're doing the night before, scrolling Instagram, and go and get those things ready. Be your own best assistant. Be your own best support, because that is the only person who is responsible for this to happen, right? Like, I hear that a lot too, especially as entrepreneurs and different things that we're trying to do. You'll hear a lot, well, my family's not supporting, this is not supporting. And while there is situations and respect that goes into those, situations, in the end, it's only on you, right? It's only up to you. And you're the only person that can continue forward despite what's around you. So setting up an environment to win is huge. If it's your community, your work, your drive, your commute, whatever those things are, we actually have a worksheet you can go through that kind of tags you to go through each of these pieces and start to ask yourself, what in these areas and environments can I change? If it's when I come home, I feel better if I put on music, or I feel better like candles. Like these things, these simple things can change the trajectory of your goal, which changes the trajectory of your life, right? When we get towards a goal, when we start to accomplish something, there's a few things that happen. We start to put ourselves in a winning mindset, because we're like, oh, look, I'm doing it. I'm accomplishing it. I can do those things. And then we also are starting to create that compound effect towards big changes, to like put ourselves towards, an environment what allows us to continually grow. And that new person that just attained this goal and did this thing has a different outlook on the next. So I actually had an amazing gal that I just chatted with, and she had a sugar addiction. And she was like, it was some rock bottom type stuff. It was serious. Hiding in a car, eating ice cream type of thing. Amazing story. And when she finally hit rock bottom with her sugar situation, she was like, I got to change it. And she just happened to have somebody around that was able to support a little and guide her through it. And she started going through it, and she got through this sugar thing, but it started opening the door to all this other stuff. She's like, I decided I wanted to work out in the morning. I was never working out. I was, gained weight from all this sugar. And then when she was working out, she's like, I wanted to do this. And it opened the door of this accomplishment of just her going, I could do that. Yeah, why not? Let's try it. A whole different attitude from that first goal. So when you start to really like set yourself up and you start to achieve these, it's huge, and it builds confidence. Confidence isn't something that you're born with, right? A lot of people think that. They're like, confidence is just, you're either confident or you're not, or you have to fake it. But the truth is that confidence is actually a skill. It's something that we learn, and we learn it by first being brave, trying to do something that we actually are not confident doing. We have no idea how to do. That's how we start, right? So when first we're brave, then we try the thing, and we probably don't do it very well. Go look at my first videos. Heck, fast forward a couple years and look at this video. It probably, hopefully, the next ones will be even better. So we start by doing something that we're afraid of, that we're not good at, and that's the bravery. So we go through being brave, and then after we be brave, we usually start to learn it a little bit, and then we get better. And the more we get better, we start to have a skill, and we have a skill, we have confidence in that thing, because we know we can do that. And that is what builds the confidence. Like, I can do this. I can stand in front of somebody. I can draw this picture. I can do this thing. That is what builds the confidence. It's not something you're born with or not. It's something that you can actually build and try and test and create as a skill. So the same thing with our goals. As we do that, it starts to build that confidence. And the more confidence you have, perhaps the more bolder goals that you'll choose. So that's really, really exciting. Hi, we got some highs for everybody. Thank you again for being so chatty, you guys. I love it. So that is really what we're looking at there, is looking at that plan, looking at that backup, looking at the milestones, looking at all the things. And then as we've kind of getting it cleared out, we need to track it. And I've said it before, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So you might think you were eating the way you're supposed to. You might think you were getting to sleep on time. You might think all those things. If you guys actually saw a couple episodes back with Dr. Soria, we talked about sleep. And I was like, I'll be fine. I totally got this. And I didn't get to sleep at a good time that night. And then the next night. And then the next night. And at the end of the week, because I was asked to actually track it, I looked back and I was like, I did not sleep at a decent time any night this week, like at all, none. But if I wasn't tracking it, I would probably think that it was like 2 or 3 nights, like it wasn't so bad. And I talked to my husband about it even that week, and he's like, you haven't slept well in a long time. He's like, think about it, really, the last time you really had good sleep. And I was like, come on, no, there's been more. And I started thinking, I was like, oh my God. And I kind of joked, I was like, maybe 2 years, but that's the truth, is we skew it. We really skew it in our head. And so if you're not using something to track, to be real, like black and white, this is that pen and paper I'm talking about, this every day, I'm marking the X because I'm doing it, you will not have accurate information of your progress. So I actually have a 2020 goal and habit tracking sheet. We'll post it underneath here later on after the show, guys, or maybe I think maybe Steven, if you're around, you could post in there too, our 2020 tracking sheet. So you can do it. It's totally free. Go in there, and it's fully adjustable. So you can write all the things in there. You can see kind of how crazy I am and the type of goals that I set as well, because there's an example in there. But it's really, really helpful. And it's digital, so it goes with you everywhere you are. But I've been using it for 3 years now, and it hasn't changed. Like this is what I love. And it also gives you a chance to review your day on a daily basis and review your week. And then we do monthly reflection and planning sessions as well, that everyone's welcome to join. Those are also free. And the reason is because this is what I love to do. This is what I live to do, like just helping others get this together and not live vicariously through me. And I have that a lot through our Instagram of travel, Nomad No Problem. People see these beautiful places we're at in Bali and Thailand or in Europe, and they're like, oh my gosh, I live vicariously through you. And it is like a stab to my heart every time, because I don't want anyone to live vicariously. Like, everyone has the same opportunity. No, we're not coming from the same place, but we do have the same opportunities. And so that is why I get so excited about this stuff, because those goals that you have are obtainable. They absolutely are. They just need the right process and support to get them off and on the, off the ground. So anyway, this thing has this end of the day, and that really helps you. Like, when we reflect, when we look back, like, how was this day? Was this day good? Did I like it? Is there something I could change? What could I do tomorrow? And then looking at your week, hey, overall, how was this week? And just being very mindful, as we've been learning on this show, mindful and aware of how your day really goes, how your weeks really go, how your life really goes. Everyone will say it. Life goes so fast. Life goes so fast. You're right. It does. And half the time it's because we're not paying attention. We just are into the next best thing. And so taking that short moment on a daily, weekly, and then monthly basis to go, was I who I wanted to be today? Was I who I wanted to be this week? And was I who I wanted to be this month? And notice I'm saying who. Not just did I get the things done I wanted to do, but am I who I wanted to be? And if not, again, life is short. It goes so fast. What can we do to change that? Because we don't know how much time we have. So we have every opportunity to be who we want to be, the best of who we want to be right now. If we know who that is, if we've made those decisions, even looking at our goals, are we who we want to be? Did we write only the things to accomplish, or did we write and envision who that person is? And what does that person do? And what are their behaviors like? What do they act like? I just realized here that I am spacing out. Yes. Okay, guys. So sorry. We got to take a break and I will be right back. Hi guys, you're watching My Design Life with Tanya MFK, and we're back. Thank you so much for sticking with me. So I was going on kind of my rant about paying attention to who we want to be, and it is one of my favorite questions. It's something that people don't ask at cocktail parties. They haven't asked you probably at Christmas time or for New Year. It's not something that happens at work. It doesn't happen at school. It's really, it doesn't come our way. And I truly believe that clarity is not something we discover. It's something that we find through questions. And more times than not, we're just not asked the right questions. So I do challenge you to ask yourself who you want to be in 2020. And then dig deeper. Of course, we can't just stay right there. Dig deeper and go, what does that person do? What does their day look like? How do they act? How do they talk? When you can really start to visualize that person, that is a powerful, powerful thing. If you guys are familiar with, I believe his name's Todd Herman. He has a book called, I think it's Alter Ego. It's a new book. It just came out. And he actually talks about creating this kind of persona that is that strength. I'm sure this isn't totally foreign concept for a lot of you, but if you start to identify that person that you really want to be and you step into that, you have a vision of who they are and how they act and what they do, eventually that actually becomes you, because we are the sum of the 5 people we hang out with. And if one of those people are this person you're creating, then eventually you will adopt that thing. Our personality isn't frozen. Our personality isn't permanent. It is something that we can grow and develop. So a lot of time when people say, well, that's just the way I am, or that's how I was raised, like that's a factual thing. You're right. But that doesn't mean that's how you have to stay. And so that little tiny nugget right there is huge. And so if you don't have an idea of who you want to be, then the truth is who you are right now is what that will be. And if that's what you want, then you're great. But if there's something else that you want, or if there are things that you want to change, or something that you're like, I don't like that I'm, so judgy. Like my biggest thing is I get too judgy when I call credit cards. I call and I'm immediately in like not the nice lady mode. I'm Californian, right? Like traffic, sets me off. I don't want that, actually. Those are things I don't want. One of the things that I'm adopting is we're with our group, we're doing 30 days to your best year ever. So every month we're trying a new habit. And so I'm starting January actually with no complaining. And I haven't started yet, but I'm already starting to notice like little things. I'm like, today I was like, I hate my phone. It drives me nuts. But then I caught it. I was like, oh, there it is. That's going to be hard. I got to watch it. So really starting to understand and creating that vision of who that person is and what they do and how they act, even what they wear, where they go, how they wake up. That is a very wonderful, healthy thing. And if you're on the fence, you're like, okay, Tanya, you're getting into woo-woo territory. I've said this before, is visualization is not woo-woo. You do it all the time. It's just called worry, panic, doubt, right? You let all those things circle around and create this false situation that you then worry about because it's not real. So instead of doing that, we flip visualization into a positive thing and go, well, what if it was this and I could act like that? And you start to really understand those pieces, then little by little, that is your vision, your goal of where you start to head, who you start to become. So I am, like I said, a huge fan of the whole idea of who you want to be, looking into that for the next year and truly working towards that. So we do have the goal sheet there too, guys. If anybody is following right now, you can just go down below in the comments. We do have the goal tracking sheet, one of my favorites. You can see that there. And, we go, I track the books. I have a really clear plan for myself. So I not only know that my top goals, but I also look at, the health, my wealth goals, who I want to be, what I want to read next year. So I really dive into all of those things. So it's really awesome. So while you get into all of this stuff, while you start to like open up these doors of like goals and accomplishments and achievements and tracking and all of that, it's also really important that you start to look at how you start your day, because that is really going to frame your success. As I said before, the true goal accomplishments happen in the tiny moments. You're praised in the light for what you did in the dark. Right. So when nobody's looking, when that tiny little minuscule thing of like not eating that cake that nobody else has seen, like that, those little things add up to you being at, the place you want to be. Right. So looking at your day, looking at, again, like we talked about, even setting your environment, that starts to set your day, but also how you wake up. And most of us, I know, especially as parents, a lot of time we wake up immediately into the needs of others. We usually wake up with the kids, or if we're up before, it's usually because we have to, do something for the kids or for work. And so rarely are we filling our cup. I know we've all heard the self-care. Self-care is everywhere. Oh my God, self-care, self-care. And I love it. Self-care is great. But what does that mean? And is it a bubble bath? And is that bubble bath really going to help me right now? And so I find that the easiest way to start to fill your cup is getting up early. Yes, I know. I was never a morning person. You can ask my trainer back in California. It's a story that she had a 6 a.m. class and a 9 a.m. class, and I always went to the 9 a.m. class. And one day, I guess I accidentally signed up for the 6 a.m. class, and she called me knowing that wasn't really me. And she's like, did you sign up for the 6 a.m.? I saw you there. I was like, oh, no. If I ever show up at the 6 a.m. class, I've completely lost my mind or I'm on drugs. Either way, you should be worried. All right. So that was me. That was my idea. Like morning, no way. My goal this year is to move from a 5 a.m. wake up to a 4:30 a.m. wake up. That's like my dream goal right now, is to wake up that early. And it's because I've already experienced over the last few years how filling and wonderful it is to fill my cup before everybody else. Right. So I'm not going to glamorize like, oh, I just love being up early. I kind of do, but that doesn't have to be the thing. It doesn't have to be that you got up early. It's that you woke up and the first person you tended to was you. You did those things that you're always wanting to find time to do. I just want to get up and read a book, or I want to do my yoga. I want to do, maybe you just want to have your cup of coffee and stare out the window. But you can do that. And yes, it's going to cost you getting up early. And then maybe you get to sleep early, and we can go back and watch the episode with Dr. Soria that tells you why we should be doing that anyway. So that's a whole other episode. But having these things that wake up and frame your day, frame your experience, is going to change the attitude. It's going to change your patience, your outlook for the rest of the day. And when you end that day on a high and a win, it's that much easier to go towards the next day and the next day after that. Again, this compound effect just continues on and on. And so I am, I have a morning routine. And this is where I'm getting to with this, is morning routines are huge. And I started with the overachiever morning routine. It was 2.5 hours. I had everything meticulously laid out, and it was great. And then it wasn't. It started to just feel like a burden. And that was when I really learned, don't confuse the results with the process. And so what I was so focused on the process and going in and making sure that I was, checking off, as we're talking about progress, tracking and seeing our progress. I was so focused on that. I got to X this out. I got to get these 25 things I've decided as the best morning routine. I got to get them checked off. And so the results weren't really coming because I was focused on just the process. So as a lot of you guys have read, I'm sure, Thrive articles or whatnot about the top morning routines of, all the great CEOs, what Bill Gates does and what Tony Robbins does. And I won't say what Elon Musk does because he never sleeps. So don't follow what he's doing as far as his morning routines. So, you can do all those and you're like, oh, okay, then if this works for him, I should do this. Tony Robbins is jumping on trampolines and this person's doing that. Oh my goodness. So I think we might have a caller as well.
Yes.
Hey, we have a caller. Hi there.
This is Tim Ray. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tim?
I just want to say thank you so much for, I love the show and I love this 2020 goal setting because for me, it's very important how I set that up, but I just love your advice and what you're doing. I think it's fantastic. And working with you, not only, of course, on the network, but professionally with your services has been just something that's been outstanding. And I think a lot of people need to hear that, know really what you and your team do is just incredible work. And you're really bringing us forward. I want to thank you for all that too.
Thank you so much, Tim. Love hearing that. Thank you. And we're going to have an awesome 2020.
Yeah, I have one question for you.
Sure.
Definitely we'll have an awesome 2020. So for the folks who, it seems to me a lot of things are overwhelming to the point where it's almost information overload. And
yes.
And I think a lot of people are experiencing this. A lot of it has to do with a lot of it has to do with the just technology, I believe, and this over information coming in for this, it's almost too much. It's like everyone, their attention span is now down to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it seems like for us to really move forward on some really big projects, we have to, I guess, ground ourselves and get away from all this and maybe not set goals, or maybe just get away or somehow incorporate that into our daily life. So it's not just this nonstop over, stimulation, technology-driven world we're in. What do you think?
Yes. I am so glad you brought that up, because what I have found is that what have I found? Like everyone knows there's so much information out there. And so you start to go, well, what am I supposed to do? Gary Vee's telling me I need to work harder. I need to sleep less. Tanya's here telling me I need to sleep more. This person's telling me I need to go by my chronotype. And you start to go like, well, who's right? And the simple answer, but it's just as difficult to know, but the simple answer is that the only way to know the advice to follow is to actually know yourself. And the more that you are paying attention to what you need, the more you know which advice to take. So if someone's telling me I need to pick 10 goals and I need to 10x it, and I'm looking at my life going, you know what, I'm realizing I'm a little like type A going over the top already. I can't listen to Grant Cardone right now. Thank you, Grant. You're amazing. You're so smart. But the 10x is not, I don't need any more goals right now. But I only know that by knowing me. And if I don't, it's easy to fall into that trap and put yourself over the edge. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Great advice. And listen, have a great 2020. I'll see you there.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Okay, guys. So we are going to take a quick break. Don't forget to set your calendars for Monday at 3 p.m. I think we have the Mystic Monday show, and the gals there have some cool person, I think, talking about like some crystals and some other stuff there. So make sure to mark your calendar and check that show out. We'll be right back. See you guys soon. All right, guys, I'm Tanya MFK. Welcome back to My Design Life. And we are talking about how to make 2020 really a year of vision and a year that change really happens. And so our last caller, as Tim called in and so graciously thanked me and all those great things, he also brought up a really important thing. And the amount of information out there that can be conflicting, but not just that, but also the tendency to also only go towards achievement. Like, I got to get this goal and then I can get that goal. And if we're only, looking at the gap, what we have left to get our goal, then when we actually attain that goal, we don't even know how to appreciate it, because we're always just focusing on how to get to the next thing. And so having time and actually setting time in your schedule to just think, to disconnect, to not be achieving, like that's just as important. And I did say schedule, because that's the other thing, right? So if we're going towards achievement, the tendency can be to overschedule ourselves, to try to do too much. And so actually putting those breaks into your schedule is really, really helpful, and treating them with the same respect as an appointment. As you know, I always joke, like something we hate doing, like going to the dentist, we give more respect to showing up to than we will for our own lives. And so my schedule actually has very specific family time. And most of my clients working with me, they learn, they're like, oh, that's our family time. We know we're not going to ask for a meeting. Like, that's the family time. I schedule family time, and I schedule my morning routine. I schedule my evening routine. I do those things for two reasons. One, because I'm not that organized. I'm organized because I put it in a calendar. Two, if something comes up to ask me about doing something else, I'm immediately aware by looking at my schedule what I would be giving up or what I would be saying no to. So if somebody asked, to meet during my scheduled family time, then I have to make that decision. Am I saying no to my family and yes to the client, or am I saying no to the client and yes to my family? And there's no right or wrong. The truth is, sometimes I can look and be like, hey, love you guys, I see you all the time because I do this family time, that I am going to take a call, and it's going to take an hour away from what we're doing, but perhaps it's, moved somewhere else. I can make those decisions because of it. So another thing with the schedule, and I think we'll go into that a little bit, is, I always tell people it's not about being rigid. It's about being able to schedule your flexibility. You actually know what you're moving around. And it's a lot easier to edit a bad plan than no plan at all. So that is, you want to start with something, and then you can move kind of the Tetris blocks around and say, okay, well, you know what, if I'm going to meet with them here, then I'm giving up my gym time. What can I do? Do I need to switch that to the morning? Do I switch it to tomorrow? Do I stack it? What am I doing? Right? You can make those decisions, but you find out how to move your plan. So having that schedule, having that downtime put in there, and thinking time, it's absolutely important, because if we are just focusing on accomplishments, we also aren't really focusing on the here and now. We're not enjoying the life, and life is here. As I said earlier, it's short. You don't know how much time you have. So it's a delicate balance, right? We want to achieve, we want to have the best things and grow to those best things, but we also are in a beautiful place right now if we choose to see it. We are in a life that has so much for us, that those moments that we're missing, if we're always forward focused. So we need to have that balance of, yes, I'm here now. Yes, it's beautiful now. And there are great things that I want, and there's tools in place, and bringing those together. So the morning routine, I do schedule. I absolutely schedule. So I have my 5 to 7. That is my morning routine, or morning time. So my morning time's only an hour now. So it used to be 2, but now we've gone down to 1. I'm coming down now. So I have my morning routine that has the few things that I found to be very helpful for me. So and if you want that example, meditation, huge. There's so much evidence out there, and there's so many different kinds. So if you go, well, I've done it, doesn't work, I find it hard to believe that you've tried all the 15,000 different types that are out there. So there are, chanting, there's silent, there's candle, there's vipassana, transcendental, I think, there's all different types. So see something that works for you. But we all have a brain and we have a mind, and that's what meditation works with. So I really would challenge you to say that it's not something that works for you. You just might find the right thing for your lifestyle. So meditation, I have Ujjayi breaths. I do journaling. I forced myself to journal in the beginning because it just wasn't something that felt normal or natural. And now it has proven to really be helpful and to get a lot processed out. I also have the None for 90. I'm not always good at it, but it is the goal every morning that the first 90 minutes, no phone, no social media, none of that. So that's actually a checklist on there, is my None for 90. So I can keep track of how many times I may have grabbed the phone and gotten into Instagram. And the reason for the None for 90, guys, is we just had a whole evening of sleep and processing where you finally were quiet and let your brain kind of just flow and do some work. So as soon as you wake up, your brain might have some great things it has to tell you. And you're going to run in and be like, no, brain, quiet. I'm going to shove it in whatever on the roulette of what's on Instagram. Like, who knows? It could be something good, could be something bad, could be the latest, unfortunate thing on the news, or it could be Aunt Martha's kitten. Who knows? But let's find out. And then let that set your day. And that roulette has not done well for me, especially, and I don't think for most people. So giving that power over to your mindset so early is not ideal. So I say none for 90. Keep those first 90 minutes very precious and do the things that are good for you. So I actually have a goals to game plan book that you can look through. And it has tons of what I call the power ups, which are really how to start your day, how to go through all of, the different things you can try, so if it's cold showers, and all the evidence that's behind it. So again, remember, it doesn't matter what the top CEO does. It matters how these things make you feel and start your day and the benefits you find from them. So scheduling that time, having that morning routine, developing that, I say add that to one of your goals, like tonight, tomorrow, to get started for 2020. Like having one. And the truth is, you have one. It's just probably not supporting you, right? So you have a morning routine, right? You're like, I get up in chaos, I make coffee, I throw clothes on, and I get into traffic. Like, wow, what a wonderful start to a day. Oh, wait, no, it's not. So giving yourself that is huge. And the only way you're going to have a good morning and a good morning routine is by having a good evening, which goes with a good evening routine. So having a bedtime, being a grown-up that has a bedtime is really huge. Choosing that, setting some calming things that will give you a nice calming atmosphere to prepare you for sleep. Again, we talked about that. Dr. Sawyer, you're getting so many shout outs on this call because that sleep one, she knows, man, that hit me. So creating that calming environment even for sleep. So that helps you, which then of course, your health is better. All of these things are coming together. So you're creating that environment for sleep. You're having that cutoff, again, none for 90 at the end of the day. It's always a great rule as well. I just read something about a doctor. He said that he has a timer set into the wall, and then his internet is connected to the timer, and it goes off. He said it goes off at 10 p.m. It shuts off the internet. So there's no Netflix. There's no, scrolling. Like internet, Wi-Fi is down in the house. And I'm tempted. I don't know if my husband's watching, but I'm tempted to that one. It could be a good idea. So, again, none for 90, setting that evening routine and setting the time. So again, with my goal for getting up at 4 a.m, I need to get to sleep earlier. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to getting a lot of stuff done when my son's asleep. So this is a new transition for me as well, to really start an earlier bedtime, set that process, and really prepare myself for sleep so I can get up feeling rested at 4 a.m. So scheduling these times are huge. And then really the rest of life is what happens in between. So whether you have your work schedule or those different things, having that kind of broken down and written out and seeing what space is left is really important for you to understand how your life really works, how your day-to-day really works. Some people are much more overscheduled than they realize. Some are much more underscheduled than they realize. They feel chaotic, but they see that their time's actually going to kind of a lot of listless nonsense and saying yes a lot. And if you haven't read the book Essentialism, huge. This is a great read for the beginning of the new year. Greg McKeown is his name, Essentialism. And it really teaches you how to say no and how to really focus on what is the most important. So I do love that. So scheduling, getting clear on what really where your time's really going, because again, this is where you can start to fill in those boxes of, maybe you've always wanted to dance and you can put in a dance and you're like, I'm going to start dancing once a week. I'm just going to do it in my room and have fun, or I'm going to practice guitar, or I always wanted to learn to draw. I want to take that course. We can start being realistic with our time and walking forward in sanity, instead of the buzz of, oh my gosh, it's busy, I'm busy. Everyone's busy. And we're all busy because we say we're busy. And it's such a virus right now, being busy, and it's so accepted. It's the norm. It's okay. And so if anything, guys, for 2020, I am hopefully giving you the tools to no longer be busy. You're going to be filled. Like, I'm fulfilled. I'm having a great time. I am doing things that feel good. I'm not busy. Busy is a negative connotation. I don't want to be busy. I want to be active. I want to be accomplishing, right? So may 2020 be that. May you use the tracking sheet to have real progress and measure where you're going and what you're doing. Just have it all, guys. Like, 2020 can be yours, but we do have to be clear. We have to be, mindful of what we're doing and why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and have backup plans. So I hope that has been helpful, guys. I know it was a bit of like a tangent, but this is what it's like to hang out with me sometimes. Thank you so much for being here. We won't have an assignment this week as it is the holiday week, but we do have some new stuff coming up soon. So please, as always, if you had some questions or want to ask some more things, go ahead and get us a My Design Life show on Instagram or Facebook. You can also find me at Tanya MFK, both on Instagram, Facebook, and also the websites as well, mydesignlife.show and tanyamfk.com. So if you do want to make those changes, we do have a planning session this Saturday, January 4th. So you can come to the website and download that habit and goal tracking sheet for 2020. And you can also find out about our planning session. So you can look back on how December was and what you want for January. So that's it, guys. Our next show is coming up. It's going to be the 8 Keys of Happiness. And thank you all for being here. Your Sunday starts today. And on the 1st, make it the best. I'm Tanya MFK. See y'all next time.
Thank you for joining us at My Design Life. Catch us every other Monday at 3 p.m. EST. My Design Life was brought to you by the UI Media Network and United Intentions Foundation in collaboration with Tanya MFK. Follow us at Tanya MFK, My Design Life Show, United Intentions Foundation, and UI Media Network. Do you have methods, tips, or hacks to live your best life? Be a guest on our show. Contact us at mydesignlife.show to submit an application.